So I think sometimes it's quite important to sort of get an all-in-one view of everything. The number of people who did the Silence the Inner Critic course on the first intake, who said to me that they really only grasped fully what the course was about and the power of the course by going back to the beginning, watching from the workshop. The masterclass is the workshop, which is an overview of how CPTSR develops, right the way through to the very end. There was one poor woman messaged me, and she was painting, and I think not paintings like this one, but painting the wall, and she was kind of stuck up a ladder, and she couldn't switch me off. So for 8 hours, it went from she just played the audio files, because you get like video files in the course, but you get audio files so you can hear everything, so you can listen in the car or whilst you're doing bits and pieces around the house. I can't do housework unless I'm listening to something. It just seems like the most monumental waste of my time. So she listened to the whole thing from the beginning to the end inside of 8 hours, and she was like, that really drove it all home for me. So this workshop, the masterclass, even if you saw it last time, watch it again, because you go, well, only 3 months has gone by. What's the point? I'm like, if you're following my work and you're listening to the videos and you're doing your own work and you're doing your own reading and listening to other people, you won't hear it the same. There's no way you'll hear it the same, because you're now a different piece of the stream. You've dipped into a different piece of the stream now, and you aren't the same listener. So if you get the chance to listen to it again, even if you're on the first intake and you did the course, go back, listen to it again. Maybe not the full thing, maybe just tune in and out, like half listen to it, half don't. But there are things that you will hear that will be of monumental significance this time round, that you'll be like, how did I miss that? How did I not hear that the first time? And, there could be multiple reasons for that. You could cut it out. The unconscious might protect you from stuff. The inner critic might be like, oh, I don't want them to hear that. I don't want them to recover too quickly, so I'm going to delete and edit and distort and generalize that particular piece of the map out. But listen to it again, and you'll get a better sense of it. One of the things that I've been experimenting with doing recently is to say again what I have already said before in a new way, and to try and make it more concise. So I released the last 3 YouTube videos I released. There's no new information on them from my point of view. So as the listener, you're not the same listener, but then as the speaker, I'm not the same speaker. So in my head, I'm going, people are going to get bored of this because I'm basically saying the same thing again. But with time, I can't see how, maybe my own personal progress, my own healing, my own therapeutic process that I'm in, that's going to impact it. But you start formulating things differently. So the hearer is different, the speaker is different, and the information that is conveyed functionally becomes different information. So you hear and say different things. But I'm gonna keep doing that, because it's actually getting amazingly good feedback from people who are saying, wow, I never thought of it that way before. And I'm going, I said that. I totally said that. But solipsistically, from my point of view, I might think I've said it like super clearly, up front and center, this is a thing. But just because in my head it's super clear and up front and center, that might make me more likely to not make a big deal of it. The superego. I was like, well, everybody knows what a superego is. So then I go back and I'm like, just so we're all on the same page, there's the ego, and then above the ego is the superego. And that's what tells the ego. It's what tells the personality what is good, what is bad, what it should do, what it shouldn't do. It enforces a moral system, a value system, or in the case of narcissistic abuse, a superego that's been hijacked, an unvalue system, an inverted value system onto the ego, onto the personality. It's not the ego and then the super duper ego, because we're talking about narcissism. So you're going, oh, egoic and then super egoic. So if we're talking about people's super ego, we're talking about their intrinsic narcissism. Nope. Sorry. That's not right. And, as I said in the other videos, these are terms from Freud. They're old. They're out of antiquated German sentence structure and usage. It's become antiquated even in just 120 years, in the same way that English is. Like statements made in English from 1912 are going to sound a little bit odd if you say them word by word and then translate them to German or French or Spanish today. It's going to be like, oh, that sounds a little bit weird. Super ego, as in the Latin for super, because all intellectuals, they were using Latin. All of Freud's descriptions of mental health issues, and I think a lot of Jung's, were from Greek mythology, because that's what academics thought in terms of in that time. That's why we call it narcissism, because of the Greek story of Narcissus and Echo. It's a Greek myth. So we're sort of in that reality tunnel. But when you awaken to the fact that you're in a reality tunnel and that you're seeing the world in a certain way based on a certain set of unconscious coordinates, that's when you can red pill from that reality, to use the Matrix terminology. That's when you can wake up from it. The goldfish doesn't know that it's swimming in water. That's just its world. That's just where it lives. That's what it breathes. It's the air it breathes. You go, you're in water, dude. It goes, what? No, I'm not. This is just the world. This is just reality. Waking up to it can be challenging and it can be painful. And that's the point of the course. But there's so much. I've tried to condense 10 years worth of psychotherapeutic work and based on psychoanalytic theory into a course that you can consume and work with inside of 4 weeks and get results from inside of 6 to 8 weeks, depending on where you are on the sliding scale of your CPTSR and how strong it is, to 12 weeks to 6 months for some people. So it was ambitious. Oh, and it was supposed to be funny, entertaining, easy and fun to do. Like the exercise is supposed to be quite easy. Either you just have to listen to an audio, you just have to visualize a few things, you just have to draw a few things, and then you'll be okay. But the ambitiousness of that and of shoving it all into one course means when you actually start to unpack the course, there's a lot to unpack. And if your CPTSR response is strong, that's going to take longer to do. It is worth going back to the beginning, hearing it again, hearing the framework, hearing the intent, the purpose. This is why we're doing this, and starting from scratch and going, okay, I have a series of symptoms that are based in multiple minor traumatic events that are manifested and remembered emotionally rather than somatically and physically. You're not remembering through visual, auditory, and kinesthetic memories. You're remembering, only the body is remembering emotionally. Only the emotions are being recalled unwittingly. They're not being consciously recalled, they're being unconsciously and unwittingly recalled. So you're almost having like attacks, storms, an attack storm of emotion that just comes up, it seems, from nowhere. That's the symptoms. What is the systemic damage that is done? Well, the systemic, so that's, we have to heal the symptoms and we have to heal the systemic damage, which is almost, if we go Star Trek for a minute, it would be like being hit with a load of radiation, maybe from flying too close to a star because you couldn't get your thrusters to get away from the star. Or maybe you're hit with some super weapon, some Klingon super weapon, and it fries the navigation system, but doesn't burn it out completely, it just warps it. So the navigation system is always leaning towards a certain direction. Well, what's our navigation system of the superego leaning towards? Self-destruction, self-loathing, hatred, violence, self-violence and others' violence, guilt, shame, negativity, bitterness, self-isolation. That's heavy, man. As I just list all those things, they'd be like, damn, I don't want a navigation system that's pointed into that nebula. Thanks. I don't want to go to that cluster of stars over there. That sounds really dark. That sounds nasty. Well, that's the work. That's the work. We've got to actually stop the symptoms, which is, it seems almost impossible, but actually stopping the symptoms is not the easiest thing, but it's the simplest, it's the clearest route. You go from here to there and you can reduce the symptoms. Once you reduce the symptoms, you can think more clearly, you can feel more clearly, you can perceive more clearly, and then you can look at healing the onboard navigation system, which is the inner critic, which is the superego that's been hijacked, that's navigating you to a dark place right now. See, there you go, even that metaphor. I'd get Star Trek or Star Wars in anywhere, right? You just tell me what the subject is, I'll shoehorn it in. But that worked, right? That was good, right? You write in the comments, yeah, that worked for me. The navigation system is damaged. The navigation system is pulling me towards black holes. The navigation system is pulling me towards dark, exploitative nebula. It's taking me to a bad part of the star system. It's taking me to planet Narco, because planet Narco reflects that upside down inverted value system reality. So we go, oh, okay, I'll go and find a narcissist who can reflect my superego's navigational system malfunction, which is lead the entity, lead the craft, lead the enterprise that this person represents to a bad place. Self-destruction, self-loathing, violence, guilt, shame, all of these things that were inflicted upon you by an alien, violent, fascistic, colonizing force that sought to enslave you in childhood, which would be usually primary caregivers who are tyrannical and narcissistic and psychopathic, or you were put into an institution that was tyrannical, psychopathic, fascistic, boundary breaking, excessively demanding, and insisted on your being gutted and having all the parts of you pulled out of you so that something else could be stuffed inside that you did not choose. Once that has happened, and once we're on that navigational path, that needs healing. That's something that needs to be resolved with a degree of urgency. So the course is going to open again soon. I think it's going to be within the next 24 hours. We're going to go again. If you get emails from richard@breakanybarriers.com, that's me. That's the new company that we've created. Myself and my partners in America have created. And that's going to look at producing more courses in the same direction to help people get deeper, fuller levels of recovery faster. What we're trying to do is make it more efficient, because, get you your time back. You've wasted enough time. You've had enough of your time wasted by these people and the symptoms that they leave you with. We should be trying, I think, to get you some of that time back. So that's the intent with that. So even if you saw the workshop the first time round, give it 10 minutes. Go back and watch again. I guarantee you're going to see it in a different light. Guaranteed. If you haven't seen the masterclass workshop, or you didn't see it the first time round, go and check it out. Just that on its own will really, really help. Just that on its own has a lot of really, really good information in it. And look, when we're trying to formulate a solution to a problem, the good philosophical stance, the good philosophical practice is to ask really good questions. Because when you ask really good, beautifully constructed, elegant questions, you get to the answer, and the answer's so much faster. A really well-constructed question always has the solution written into its foundational structure, always, if it's a really good and well-formulated question. So that's going to be out again. If you want to jump on that new intake, you can. But even if you don't, I encourage you to go and watch the masterclass workshop. Even if you saw it the first time, check it out again. Okay, guys, thanks very much for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Cheers.